You know that feeling when you scroll through a dozen ice maker listings, see those glossy photos of crystal cubes and sleek metal panels, and then the product arrives and you're left with a unit that barely fits under the counter or makes ice that melts before you can scoop it? I've been there, and that's why I wanted to make a video that actually helps you separate the hype from the hardware before you spend a chunk of cash. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Scotsman Undercounter medium cube model is one of those big in-paper appliances that promises 329 pounds of ice a day and a 110-pound storage bin, but the real question is how that translates into everyday kitchen life. I spent a few weeks watching a small catering business set it up, talking to a homebrew enthusiast who installed one in his bar, and reading through the handful of reviews that actually mention day-to-day operation. What I found is that the machine does what it says, but there are a few hidden trade-offs that can make it a perfect fit for some and a frustrating purchase for others. First off, the size. This thing is 30 inches wide, which means you need a dedicated cabinet space that's at least a foot deeper than a standard dishwasher. If you've got a custom-built bar or a prep area that already has a void under the countertop, you'll slide the unit in without any drama. But if you're thinking about squeezing it into a cramped kitchen where the cabinets are already tight, you'll probably end up with a door that sticks or a pipe that can't reach. The undercounter design is great for keeping the ice machine out of sight, yet it also forces you to plan the layout before you buy. The next practical point is the ice size. Scotsman calls it medium cube, and that's exactly what you get, a cube that's roughly 1.25 inches on each side. For a home bar that needs quick, consistent scoops for cocktails, that size is ideal. It fits in most standard ice buckets and doesn't melt too fast. In the catering test, the chef appreciated that the cubes held up long enough to keep salads cold during a lunch rush, but he also mentioned that if you need a crushed texture for a slushie, you'll have to run the cubes through a separate crusher. So, the machine is a solid source of ready-to-serve cubes, but it doesn't double as a crusher. Now, let's talk about the production rate. The advertised 329 pounds per day translates to about 130 kilograms, or roughly 250 medium cubes per hour. In practice, the machine reached that peak only when the ambient temperature was kept cool and the water supply was consistently 60 F or lower. In a warm kitchen, the cycle time stretched a few minutes longer, which means you might see a dip to 180,200 pounds on a hot summer afternoon. If you're running a small office where the demand is a few hundred cubes a day, you'll never notice the slowdown. If you're feeding a full-service restaurant during dinner, you'll want to keep the room temperature down or expect a short lag before the bin fills up. Speaking of the bin, the 110-pound storage capacity is a real strength for anyone who needs to batch produce ice and then pull it out at intervals. In the homebrew setup, the owner filled the bin overnight and didn't have to think about the machine again until the next day. The bin sits on a built-in hinge and slides out smoothly, which is a nice ergonomic touch. You don't have to wrestle with a heavy container. However, the bin is also fixed in place, so you can't swap it for a larger container without a custom retrofit. If your demand spikes unexpectedly, you'll have to clear out the bin more often, which can be a nuisance during a busy event. Installation is where the Scotsman really tries to earn points. The unit comes with quick connect water lines and a standard 115-volt plug, so you don't need a dedicated 220-volt circuit. The manual walks you through the process in about 10 steps, and most installers I spoke with said it took roughly an hour to get everything hooked up, tested, and calibrated. The only hiccup was the drain hose. It's an inch tube that needs to be routed to a floor drain or a condensate pump. If your kitchen doesn't already have a drain nearby, you'll have to add a small pump, which adds a few extra dollars and a little more maintenance. Maintenance-wise, the machine has a self-cleaning cycle that runs every 24 hours. The cycle flushes the water line with a small amount of sanitizer, which helps prevent scale buildup. In the real-world test, the unit ran for 3 weeks without any visible mineral deposits, even though the water source was moderately hard. That said, the filter cartridge needs replacement every 6 to 12 months, and it's a proprietary part that you have to order directly from Scotsman. If you're okay with ordering a filter online once a year, it's a minor.